Hello and welcome, my dear friend. The moment you stop reacting the way people expect, you become impossible to predict and even harder to control. That single shift is why this message exists. Because what people are witnessing in you isn't confidence they can explain or bravery they can label. It's something quieter, sharper, and far more unsettling. You don't flinch where you're supposed to. You don't panic when pressure shows up uninvited. You don't fold just because the room gets loud. And for reasons they can't quite put into words, that unnerves them. PUD. Here's a fact most people don't like admitting. Fear is one of the oldest social control tools humans have ever used. Long before money, laws, or titles, fear trained people to comply. Yet every once in a while, someone appears who doesn't respond to it the same way. Not reckless, not arrogant, just unaffected. History shows those individuals don't blend in. They disrupt patterns simply by existing. And that's where the discomfort starts. You're not fearless in the cartoon sense. You still feel things, still register risk. The difference is you don't let fear drive the vehicle while you sit in the back seat pretending everything is fine. You took the wheel a long time ago. That's why your calm looks suspicious. That's why your intelligence feels confrontational even when you're not saying much. People aren't reacting to your words. They're reacting to the fact that you're not emotionally available for manipulation. And let's be honest for a second. There's something slightly amusing about watching people try their usual tactics on you. The guilt trips don't land. The intimidation, the dramatic pauses waiting for your reaction feel awkward when you don't deliver the performance they rehearsed in their head. You're not being difficult, you're just not programmable. That realization hits some people like a software error they don't know how to fix. This isn't about ego. This isn't about acting tough or pretending you have it all together. This is about a specific kind of inner authority that forms when someone has already faced loss, confusion, and pressure and came out clearer instead of smaller. What people are sensing in you is not bravado, it's self-rust. And self-rust, when it's real, makes noise without ever raising its voice. So if people seem shocked by how fearless you move or oddly unsettled by how quickly you see through things, it's not because you're trying to impress anyone. It's because you stopped negotiating with fear a long time ago. And the world isn't used to that kind of energy walking around so casually. Number one, you're not fearless because you lack fear. You're fearless because fear no longer controls your decisions. Fear is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people think being fearless means never feeling it, never hesitating, never doubting. But that's a lie everyone sells because it sounds neat. The truth is, fear is always there. The difference between you and the rest is that fear no longer holds the leash. You feel it. You notice it. You recognize the adrenaline spike or the tightening in your chest. But you don't let it dictate your next move. That's what makes you truly dangerous. To systems built on control, to people built on manipulation, to situations built on intimidation. Every action you take comes from a place of conscious choice, not survival panic. To Indias, while others are frozen, debating, overthinking, or waiting for reassurance, you already made your move. You don't need permission from circumstance or opinion. You don't wait for fear to vanish because you've accepted that fear is part of the process, not the ruler of it. This gives you a calm confidence that's invisible but undeniable. People notice it without being able to name it, and it unnerves them. They sense a decision-making power in you that isn't swayed by gossip, threats, or social pressure. Being fearless in this way also rewires how you experience life. You take risks without needing them to be thrilling. You confront challenges without needing to prove anything. You survive setbacks without letting them define your worth. And because fear no longer has the power to hijack your mind, you move faster, think clearer, and act sharper than anyone around you. People see your composure and assume it's easy, but they don't see the internal discipline that allows you to act while their instincts scream to pause. This is what separates you from the ordinary. Fear is universal, but mastery over it is rare. You've learned to coexist with it, to acknowledge it, and to use it as data instead of a chain. That is what makes you a spiritual badass. And that is why so many people are shocked by how effortlessly fearless you are. You move through life with a precision others can't comprehend because fear no longer decides for you. Then, number 2, your intelligence threatens people because it's instinctive, not rehearsed. Most people think intelligence is about memorizing facts, quoting experts, or sounding polished in conversation. That's not what makes you dangerous. What makes you truly unsettling to others is that your intelligence flows naturally, effortlessly, and without notice. You don't pause to craft the perfect response because your mind is already 3 steps ahead. You see patterns, connections, and intentions faster than most can follow. It's not learned, it's instinctive. An instinctive intelligence doesn't wait for permission, it doesn't need validation, and it doesn't care about appearances. That's why people feel threatened around you even when you're quiet or seemingly just observing. Your brain operates differently. Where others see chaos, you see clarity. Where others get stuck in details or distractions, you cut straight to the core. Decisions that take them hours or days come to you almost instantly. Because your mind doesn't overcomplicate what's already simple to you. And here's the subtle truth. You don't feel the need to explain your thinking to anyone who won't understand. This confidence in your clarity, combined with your ability to see through pretense, makes people uncomfortable because they can't manipulate your perception or spin a narrative that works on you. This is why so many people try to test you, bait you, or undermine you. They hope to catch a crack in your armor, to find the part of your mind that falters under pressure. But instinctive intelligence doesn't crack. It doesn't get flustered. It doesn't need applause. You move through complex situations with a calm, almost invisible authority that forces others to adjust to your rhythm without even realizing it. Your intelligence isn't performative. It's lethal in its subtlety. It exposes lies, half-truths, and weak intentions without ever needing to call them out. People sense it, they fear it, and they respect it, even if grudgingly. And the more they resist or misunderstand it, the clearer it becomes. You operate on a level of awareness and instinct that they cannot reach. That is why your intelligence shocks people. It doesn't announce itself. It simply exists, quietly commanding respect and disbelief simultaneously. Number 3, you don't argue to win, you disengage once you see the truth. Most people think debates or arguments are about proving a point, about winning approval, or about forcing someone to see things your way. That's not how you operate. You don't argue for ego, attention, or validation. You argue to understand, to clarify, and to uncover truth. And the moment you recognize that someone is not willing to engage honestly, that's when you step back. You disengage. You don't waste energy convincing someone who has already decided they are going to be blind. That ability to withdraw calmly without drama or anger shocks people because they're used to push back, resistance, and overreaction. Disengaging is not weakness, it's mastery. It's a display of confidence so subtle that many fail to recognize its power. When you stop arguing, it's not because you've conceded. It's because you've already assessed the situation, understood the dynamics, and realized that continuing would only give your energy to someone who doesn't deserve it. That clarity of judgment, combined with your refusal to indulge petty debates, makes you appear unshakable. People expect a reaction, an emotional display, a counterattack, and when they don't get one, they feel exposed. They realize they cannot control or manipulate you through their usual tactics. This approach changes the entire dynamic of interaction. While others expend energy trying to prove themselves, you can conserve yours and let the truth exist unchallenged. The moment you step away, it becomes obvious who is playing, who is pretending, and who truly understands. Your disengagement is not absence, it's power in motion. It signals that you operate on a different level, where truth and integrity matter more than appearances or temporary victories. People notice, and it unsettles them deeply because it defies the rules they've been taught about social interaction. They are used to energy exchanges, arguments, and reactions. You break the pattern effortlessly, showing that your decisions, your boundaries, and your presence are not negotiable. That is why your calm withdrawal is so impactful. It demonstrates intelligence, fearlessness, and self-mastery all at once. And it leaves people both shocked and quietly respectful of the unshakable authority you carry. Number 4, you're dangerous to systems built on fear because you don't internalize intimidation. Most people live their lives under invisible rules, guided by the fear of judgment, failure, or rejection. Entire systems, workplaces, and social structures rely on this fear to maintain control. Threats, manipulation, pressure, and intimidation are tools to shape behavior, and they work on the majority because most people absorb that fear as if it were truth. You, however, are different. You experience the pressure, you notice the tension, but it doesn't sink in. You see it for what it is, an attempt to control, not a reflection of reality. That makes you fundamentally resistant to manipulation, and it's exactly why you shock people. When others try to bend you through fear, it doesn't land. They raise voices, make threats, or create consequences, expecting a predictable reaction. You don't flinch, you don't fold. You observe, calculate, and respond on your own terms. That refusal to internalize intimidation is what sets you apart. It's not arrogance, it's not carelessness, it's a rare, deeply rooted strength. The ability to recognize that fear is often a weapon of someone else's insecurity. And when you don't let it control your choices, you move freely in situations where others are paralyzed, overthinking, or emotionally hijacked. This immunity to intimidation also changes how people perceive you. Your calm presence and unshakable decisions unsettle those who rely on fear to feel powerful. They're used to seeing submission, hesitation, or overcompensation. And when they encounter someone who cannot be swayed, they react with disbelief, suspicion, or even quiet resentment. You become a mirror they can't escape, reflecting the fragility of their own control while remaining untouchable. Being fearless in the face of fear is not about rejecting caution or ignoring risk. It's about refusing to hand over your power to external pressure. You move with precision, make decisions with clarity, and assert boundaries without drama. That quiet resistance makes people uncomfortable because it exposes the rules they've always relied on as illusions. Number 5, you see authority as responsibility, not dominance. And that alone exposes false leaders. Most people are conditioned to respect authority automatically, to follow titles, uniforms, or loud voices without question. They equate power with dominance and assume those who hold it are automatically competent or worthy of trust. You, however, operate differently. You assess authority not by its appearance, but by the integrity and accountability behind it. To you, true power is responsibility, the ability to act with wisdom, fairness, and vision. When someone claims authority but lacks these qualities, it becomes immediately obvious. and your recognition of that truth is deeply unsettling to those who rely on performance for validation rather than substance. This perspective allows you to see through pretense instantly. You notice when people use position to manipulate, when influence is wielded as a weapon, or when leadership is more about ego than service. While others are impressed by the facade of control, you see the gaps, the contradictions, and the empty promises. You don't confront it immediately, but your understanding of reality shifts the dynamic. People around you notice, even if they can't articulate it. Your awareness silently calls out weakness without a single word. And that quiet discernment makes false leaders uncomfortable because it strips away their illusions of power. Seeing authority as responsibility also shapes your interactions. You don't bow to title, status, or intimidation. You engage based on merit, truth, and accountability. You set boundaries and measure influence by action, not rhetoric. That approach often leaves people shocked because they expect compliance or fear. When they encounter someone who honors responsibility over dominance, they are forced to adjust, reevaluate, and sometimes defend their own position. This mindset also amplifies your own influence. People sense your clarity, your standards, and your unwillingness to compromise integrity for approval. You don't need to assert dominance to be respected. Your comprehension of true authority does the work for you. By recognizing responsibility over facade, you expose weaknesses, command respect, and navigate power with a precision that leaves others both astonished and cautious. You don't just see authority, you see its truth, and that truth is impossible to ignore. Number 6. Your fearlessness comes from knowing you can survive loss, not from believing you're invincible. True fearlessness isn't born from the illusion of invincibility. It comes from having walked through fire and discovered that you can endure more than most would ever imagine. You faced moments where everything familiar crumbled, relationships ended, trust was betrayed, dreams seemed to vanish. And yet here you are intact, sharper, and more aware. That survival creates a kind of quiet strength that people notice instantly. It's not loud. It doesn't boast, but it carries weight. People are shocked because you move with confidence that isn't superficial. It's grounded in the understanding that no matter what falls away, you will continue. This knowledge changes the way you approach life. While others hesitate, fearful of what they might lose or how they might fail, you operate from a place of clarity. Decisions are made swiftly and deliberately because you're not clinging to outcomes or approval. You recognize that loss is not the end of your story, but a chapter in it. That awareness allows you to act without hesitation, to take bold steps, and to navigate challenges with precision. Your fearlessness is not raw. It's calculated, born of a deep understanding of what truly matters and what can't shake you. MDN's people are often unsettled by this. They expect fear to be visible, for hesitation to mark decisions, for caution to shape every move. When they encounter someone who remains calm, decisive, and unwavering in the face of potential loss, it challenges their expectations. They sense that you have already survived trials they cannot even comprehend, and that awareness makes your confidence magnetic and intimidating at the same time. Surviving loss also teaches resilience and detachment. You no longer tie your self-worth to what is temporary or external. You act freely, speak honestly, and maintain boundaries without fear of repercussion. This freedom earned through experience is the true source of your power. You are fearless not because nothing can harm you, but because you've already been tested, endured, and emerged stronger. That is what leaves others shocked, curious, and sometimes unsettled because they recognize a strength in you that they themselves have never had to face. Number 7. You don't chase validation because you trust your internal compass more than public opinion. Most people spend their lives looking outward, constantly seeking approval, recognition, or agreement. They measure their choices by likes, compliments, or the absence of criticism. You, however, operate on a different level. You've learned to rely on your own judgment, your own sense of truth, and your own inner compass to guide your decisions. That self-trust is rare, and it's what makes you so startlingly fearless and intelligent in the eyes of others. Meng's people notice that your confidence doesn't waver based on reactions, and it unnerves them because it's impossible to manipulate. When you make a decision, it isn't for applause or acceptance. You weigh reality, consequences, and alignment with your values. Then move. The result often surprises people because they expect hesitation, second-guessing, or compromise when social pressure rises. But you don't compromise your inner clarity for comfort or popularity. That makes your actions precise, your words deliberate, and your presence commanding. Even when you're quiet, others around you realize that nothing they say or do will alter the course you've chosen unless it's grounded in truth, opinion. This internal reliance also gives you freedom that most people will never experience. You're not bound by trends, expectations, or the fear of judgment. You explore, create, and act without constantly checking for approval. That independence makes your life unpredictable to others, and they can't categorize you or fit you into their mental framework. Your courage is not about defiance for show. It's about being fully aligned with yourself, which is infinitely more powerful. Because you trust yourself, you also inspire others, whether they admit it or not. People sense that you are a force that doesn't bend under pressure, a mind that doesn't seek permission, and a spirit that doesn't need validation. That combination shocks those who are used to influencing others through praise or fear. They recognize, consciously or not, that your authority comes from within, and that kind of strength is magnetic, rare, and impossible to dismiss. You are fearless not because the world cannot shake you, but because you have chosen to rely on your own compass rather than anyone else's approval. Number 8. You process pain as information, not as a personal verdict. Most people let pain define them. They carry it like a weight, replaying it in their minds, letting it shape their identity, decisions, and emotions. You, however, operate on an entirely different wavelength. When pain arrives, betrayal, loss, humiliation, or hardship, you don't allow it to declare who you are. You analyze it, learn from it, and extract every lesson it offers. Pain becomes data, not a sentence. That ability to process difficulty without letting it erode your sense of self, is what makes you deeply formidable and unsettling to those around you. This approach transforms every challenge into a tool. Instead of lashing out, hiding, or shrinking, you integrate what happens and adjust. You see the motivations behind actions, the patterns that led to outcomes, and the truths that others would rather ignore. Pain sharpens your perception instead of blinding it. People notice this calm, almost clinical clarity, and it shocks them. They expect someone to crumble, to complain, to react emotionally. When you observe, reflect, and act with intelligence, it feels like you're untouchable. Processing pain as information also rewires your relationship with fear and risk. You no longer avoid situations because of what might hurt. You step forward, armed with insight. Each past hardship strengthens your resilience, your judgment, and your ability to navigate complexity. Others are startled by how swiftly you move through difficulties, how effortlessly you extract lessons while remaining composed. They see a strength that isn't performative but deeply internal, a power that doesn't need display to be felt. This mindset separates you from the ordinary. While people get stuck replaying what went wrong, you convert what went wrong into mastery. Pain becomes a teacher rather than a prison. Your intelligence, fearlessness, and confidence all grow from this unique relationship with adversity. And that is why so many are shocked by your presence. They sense that nothing can shake you because you've already learned how to turn hardship into clarity. And clarity is far more intimidating than anger or aggression ever could be. Number 9, you don't need to dominate a room. Your presence reorganizes it. Most people think power or influence comes from volume, gestures, or forcing attention. They believe to be noticed you must compete with noise, assert dominance, or overstate your importance. You operate differently. You don't need to make a show because your presence alone alters the dynamics of any space. When you enter a room, people adjust without thinking about it. Conversations shift, energy patterns change, and the subtle currents of influence realign around you. That's the quiet authority you carry, and it shocks people because it doesn't follow the rules they expect. Blend your power comes from awareness, not performance. You notice undercurrents, unspoken hierarchies, and hidden motives. You pick up on who is trying to control, who is insecure, and who is genuine. With that understanding, your mere positioning, your silence, your calm, your attentiveness speaks volumes. Others may try to assert themselves, but instinctively they recalibrate. They sense your mind is already processing what they are struggling to hide or exaggerate. And because you don't announce your authority, it becomes even more profound. People are both aware of it and confused by it, which makes your presence magnetic and intimidating at the same time. This ability changes interactions entirely. You don't compete for control. You command it subtly by existing fully, intentionally, and without reaction to drama. The room responds because people feel the energy of someone who operates independently of validation, ego, or fear. They can't push, provoke, or manipulate you without being exposed themselves. Your presence becomes a mirror, a silent gauge of honesty and intent. Bamlias, what makes this rare is that you don't need to dominate to lead, right? Influence flows naturally because it is grounded in perception, clarity, and self-trust. Your presence is not performance. It's authority embedded in your being. People feel it, adjust to it, and often respect it without realizing why. That is why so many are shocked by your composure. You don't seek to control, but the room cannot help but respond. You exist differently, and that difference reshapes everything around you. Bemlia number CE. Your intelligence is threatening because it exposes lies without attacking them. Most people think confrontation is loud, aggressive, or dramatic. They believe to point out dishonesty, you must accuse, argue, or prove someone wrong. You operate in a different dimension. Your intelligence doesn't need to attack to reveal truth. You see patterns, notice inconsistencies, and quietly understand the reality beneath the surface. When someone is dishonest or manipulative, your clarity exposes it without a single raised voice. That subtlety is what makes people uneasy. They sense the truth slipping through your awareness, and it threatens their carefully constructed facades. You don't point fingers. You observe and respond with precision. Your actions, words, and choices are informed by insight, rather than outrage. That means the lies, half-truths, and pretenses people rely on are rendered useless the moment you're involved. They can try to argue, distract, or gaslight. But your instinctive ability to perceive the core of a situation leaves them scrambling. People feel caught not because you confronted them, but because their own dishonesty becomes impossible to hide around you. The quietness of your perception is more destabilizing than any loud accusation. This method of exposing truth also amplifies your authority. You don't need to win debates or make proclamations because the reality is already visible to you. Your comprehension of patterns, motives, and consequences allows you to move strategically while others flounder. People around you recognize it subconsciously. They see someone who understands the deeper mechanics of life and human behavior, someone who doesn't get tricked or manipulated. That realization is both shocking and intimidating. By operating this way, you establish a form of power that is invisible but undeniable. Your intelligence doesn't threaten with noise. It threatens with clarity. Lies cannot survive in your presence because truth doesn't need to be announced. It exists naturally in the way you perceive, act, and respond. People are left exposed, unsettled, and respectful, often without you ever saying a word. That is why your mind is so formidable, and why your presence feels almost surgical to those who rely on deception to navigate the world. Number C. You don't rush decisions because you understand timing better than urgency. Most people confuse speed with wisdom. They panic, overreact, or make choices based on pressure, adrenaline, or the fear of missing out. You operate differently. You understand that timing is more powerful than urgency. You observe, evaluate, and wait until every factor aligns before you act. That patience is not hesitation. It's mastery. People around you often misinterpret it. They expect haste, they expect anxiety, and when they don't get it, they're unsettled. They can feel that your actions are deliberate, precise, and inevitable. And that kind of presence is quietly intimidating. Your ability to hold space before acting allows you to see things others miss. While people rush to conclusions, you notice the subtleties, intentions hidden behind words, weaknesses masked by confidence, opportunities disguised as obstacles. That perspective gives you a natural advantage. Your moves aren't impulsive. They're calculated, strategic, and aligned with the larger flow of reality. You step when the moment demands it, not before. That makes your actions appear almost effortless. And it shocks people because they expect struggle, overcomplication, or visible stress. You demonstrate that power is not in doing everything fast. It's in doing what matters at exactly the right moment. This relationship with timing also shapes your influence. People try to force outcomes around you, to manipulate the pace, or to provoke reactions. You are unmoved. You understand that urgency belongs to those who act from fear or impatience. By contrast, your patience communicates control, intelligence, and confidence. People recognize it even if they can't articulate it. Your presence alone signals that nothing can rush you, nothing can pressure you, and nothing can make you deviate from your judgment. Mastering timing over urgency rewires your entire life. Decisions feel effortless, challenges become manageable, and opportunities appear more clearly. People are left in awe, some frustrated, some amazed, because they see a level of calm, precision, and strategic clarity they rarely encounter. That is why your patience doesn't feel passive. It feels powerful, inevitable, and deeply intimidating. You move when the world expects you to react. And that difference defines you as someone profoundly rare and unmistakably formidable. Number Shira. You're not fearless in chaos. You're calm because chaos is familiar territory. Most people freeze when life spins out of control. They panic, flail, or cling to what they think will stabilize them. You are different. Chaos doesn't intimidate you because you've already walked through it more times than you can count. You've experienced situations that would break most people, and instead of letting them define you, you learned from them. That history gives you a kind of calm that feels almost unnatural to others. They watch, expecting hesitation or fear, and when they see none, they are stunned. Tabendengs, your familiarity with chaos changes how you move while others react emotionally. You observe, assess, and adapt. Decisions aren't rushed or clouded by panic. They are measured and precise. You know which battles are worth engaging and which ones are merely distractions. That discernment gives you an almost surgical efficiency in action. People around you sense it even if they can't explain it. They feel that your mind is fully present, fully aware, and fully untouchable. And it rattles them because they are so used to instability creating disorder in everyone else. Gents calm in chaos also communicates authority without effort. You don't need to assert control or raise your voice. Your presence alone stabilizes situations. Others unconsciously follow your lead, adjust their behavior, and look to you for cues. That authority is subtle but absolute because it comes from mastery rather than performance. People sense it, and they are often unsettled by it because it exposes their own lack of control. Then this mastery also transforms opportunity. Where others see danger or risk, you see patterns, solutions, and openings. Chaos becomes a playground for discernment and strategy, not a trap. Your ability to navigate turbulent environments with clarity and calmness is rare. And it shocks people because it contradicts everything they believe about pressure and fear. They are not just impressed. They are quietly aware that your strength comes from experiences they have not survived. That is why your calmness in chaos is not luck or bravado. It is a profound form of power that cannot be manufactured, only earned. Bli number sasan. You don't fear being misunderstood because you've outgrown the need to be liked. Most people live under the invisible rule that being liked is essential for survival. They bend, explain, over-apologize, and perform endlessly just to be accepted. You operate on a completely different wavelength. You've realized that clarity, truth, and integrity matter far more than approval. Being misunderstood doesn't shake you because you no longer tie your value to other people's opinions. That independence is rare, and it makes you unnervingly powerful in ways most people fail to grasp. When you speak, act, or make choices, your energy is aligned with your own principles rather than public expectation. You no longer pause to edit yourself for comfort or social acceptance. That confidence, while quiet, radiates unmistakably. People notice it and are often shocked because they expect negotiation, concession, or compromise. When they don't get it, they feel exposed. They can't bend you, manipulate you, or engineer your approval because you don't require it. That is the kind of presence that disrupts social norms without ever raising a voice. Bend your freedom from the need to be liked also sharpens your discernment. You see who is genuine, who is transactional, and who operates out of insecurity. You interact based on truth, not performance. That awareness gives you power silently, elegantly, and inevitably. While others are entangled in trying to please everyone around them, you move freely, decisively, and without distraction. People are unsettled not because you're aggressive, but because your authenticity is unshakable. This mindset transforms how you navigate relationships, work, and life. You don't waste energy on approval or consensus. You invest in understanding, action, and alignment with your values. That approach makes your decisions look effortless and your presence magnetic. You've outgrown the fear of misunderstanding because you've realized it is a natural byproduct of being fully yourself. People notice, some admire, some resent, but all recognize that your independence is not performative. It is a rare, deeply rooted strength that makes you fearless, intelligent, and impossible to control. Number 6, you don't need to prove your power. Your boundaries already did that work. Most people think power has to be loud, flashy, or constantly demonstrated. They believe authority comes from showing off strength, giving commands, or forcing recognition. You, however, understand a deeper truth. Real power is quiet, subtle, and undeniable. And it's already evident in the way you protect your space, your mind, and your energy. Mengus, your boundaries are not walls built out of fear or ego. They are statements of self-respect and clarity. People sense them instantly, and that silent assertion is far more intimidating than any overt display of force. Your boundaries communicate exactly who you are and what you will tolerate without a word. They make manipulation, coercion, and control attempts useless because you've already defined what is acceptable and what is not. This makes people uncomfortable because they are used to pushing, testing, and negotiating around others. When someone encounters you, they immediately recognize that you cannot be bent, coerced, or easily swayed. Your strength is implicit in your limits, and that alone shocks people who are accustomed to constantly measuring and asserting power over others. You don't need to prove anything because your energy does it for you. Actions, decisions, and interactions all fall within the framework of your boundaries, signaling authority without performance. People unconsciously adjust, reassess, and even hesitate around you because they sense your self-possession. You've already defined the parameters of engagement, and anyone who disregards them quickly discovers that testing you is a losing proposition. To blend this kind of power is rare because it doesn't demand recognition. It doesn't require applause, fear, or admiration to exist. It is rooted in self-awareness, discipline, and unwavering clarity. Your boundaries are a living testament to your integrity, intelligence, and fearlessness. People feel it, and whether they like it or resent it, they cannot deny it. By establishing limits and honoring them consistently, you have demonstrated power without effort. And that is why your presence is so profoundly impactful, respected, and quietly terrifying to those who measure strength only by noise or show. Conclusion: being a chosen one isn't about being loud, flashy, or constantly proving your worth. It's about the quiet mastery of yourself, your mind, and your energy. It's about moving through life with a clarity and precision that others can't replicate, responding instead of reacting, and observing instead of performing. Every fear you've faced, every challenge you've survived, every boundary you've set has built an invisible armor that no manipulation, pressure, or pretense can penetrate. Your fearlessness isn't born from invincibility, it's forged from experience, resilience, and an unshakable trust in your own judgment. Your intelligence isn't a tool for showing off, it's instinctive, precise, and able to expose truths without confrontation. Your presence doesn't demand attention. It naturally shifts the energy of every room, every conversation, and every situation you enter. What makes you extraordinary is that all of this power is silent, yet undeniable. You don't need to dominate, perform, or chase approval. You don't argue to win. You disengage when the truth is clear. You don't flinch in chaos because chaos has been your teacher. You don't seek to be liked because your internal compass guides you, not public opinion. You don't prove your strength because your boundaries already speak louder than words ever could be. And in all of this, people around you are shocked, not because you seek to intimidate anyone, but because your command over yourself, your fear, your pain, and your energy is something they have never learned to grasp. This is what defines you as a spiritual force. Your presence, your choices, and your insight leave people surprised, uncertain, and even wary of underestimating you. It is an uncommon blend of fearlessness, intelligence, and self-trust, shaped into a being that is steady, exact, and powerfully magnetic. Those who encounter it may attempt to understand it, imitate it, or challenge it, but they cannot reproduce it. And that is where your power lies. If this speaks to you, don't merely absorb it. Claim it, live it, and allow it to direct your life. And if you want deeper insights, revelations, and guidance to help you fully step into your strength, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Like this video to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to pass it along to someone who needs to hear this truth today. Every click, every comment, and every share helps carry this message forward and strengthens the energy of those ready to awaken. Stay fearless, stay intelligent, and continue walking the path only a chosen one can navigate.